crazy. I am just so absolutely pissed off. Why am I pissed off? Because America is pissed off. And we are going to talk about it this evening. Why is everybody so upset? Why are people so mad? They mad at everything. They mad that the sky is blue. They mad that their shoes are the wrong.
The sky is blue.
They mad just at everything. And we are going to talk about it this evening because I don't really understand why everybody is so pissed off. We got fights going on in the air. Oh my gosh, that used to be the thing that people would just not do, is everybody be calm in the airplane, right? Now people are getting into major fights in the airplane over all sorts of crazy stuff. Not just the mask, even though the mask is a major issue. People are getting, we are having to have protection for bartenders, for our service members, the people who service in the restaurants. They're having to host and hostesses are getting beat up by people. This is absolutely insane. What do you guys think about the fact that America is just so angry right now? Have we always been angry? Is this just us?
We probably have.
Yeah.
They just haven't found peace within themselves. That's what it is.
Oh, okay. Karen in with the game shot opener. All right.
Okay.
They haven't found peace within themselves. If they learn anything about this pandemic, it's to have peace within themselves.
Why don't we have peace within ourselves? Like, have we ever had peace within ourselves? Like, have we ever been taught that? Have we just like
some people been taught that, yes, but some people have been taught that, but some people haven't. I never had, but I learned, I followed, and I was reaching for peace for myself. For my insanity, all this we're talking about self-care and all that. If you're not looking for it, you ain't gonna find it. I like drama, so I'm gonna tell you the truth. On my Facebook and all that, you'll see a lot of drama, but I tend to now delete all that. I don't follow drama. I follow people that's peaceful, that's talking about something, giving a great quote, doing some good things in life, businesswoman, everything. So. Peace.
I agree with Karen, but I think if you've been listening, fear sells, polarization sells. Came out of, like everybody says, an abusive 4-year relationship with a leader of a country. Not only that, we were locked down, and when you treat people like animals, then they emerge behaving like animals sometimes. And there's a lot of fear out there, and we are not the only ones. It feels like we are the only ones because when we're living in our world and in our life, we think it's just our country, but it's happening all over the world. And it really has a lot to do with also technology. And there's a lot of talk about social media and how these algorithms are really working on what sells the most is anger, fear, polarization. So the algorithms are now targeting that. So if you're not careful, I'll give you a really great example. My husband, for a while, he's afraid of flying. He does it anyway, but he's afraid. He's always like, oh my God, we're going to crash, right? So one time he must have clicked on some article on Google about a plane going down. So for months, anytime he went on his Google feed, he was getting nothing but articles about planes going down, right? And so you think, because we think this is like news, the way news was when we were kids. You turn on the news and it's like the most current, most important news. And so I think of like social media and Google News and things of that way. We don't realize that it's just feeding us things that we have shown interest in. I clicked on an Angelina Jolie thing one time and I got months and months of Angelina Jolie. And I was like, dang, Angie is doing the things. They got all this drama. Everybody's talking about Angelina Jolie. What are we talking about? It was just because I had clicked on it, and so I was getting all these articles about Angelina. So I had to tell my husband that. I was like, it's not that more planes are crashing than ever and everything. It's like you clicked on it one time, and so it keeps giving you that. And that is what's happening. So anytime you click on anything that's about fear or anger, I mean, there's genocides happening in countries in Myanmar because of Facebook. I mean, there are all kinds of things, or the algorithms in social media. And I think we're all feeling it in different ways. And I actually think it's global. I don't think it is just the United States.
I agree with all of that. And I will add to that in regards to, we were, to pick off what Olivia was saying, like we were isolated for a year. And I said this before, we are going to see the residual effects of this almost 2 years of COVID. It's going to have residual effects through our education system, through everywhere, through education, through our own mental health for years to come. And this is the other thing. a lot of us, especially in this country, as Olivia said earlier, we are focused on the country in which we are in. A lot of people feel like they have lost control of themselves or their own autonomy, and we are trying to grasp any way of control that we feel like we have control for ourselves. We are grasping at straws at this point. But then to Karen's point, she said her Facebook is drama. I don't have the mental capacity to deal with drama and negativity. So mine is the opposite of Karen. I got dog videos. I got, beautiful Black women doing their things. And Olivia is correct, because whatever you watch, those algorithms come up. I talked to Alexa the other day because she's listening, because she'll turn on if I say her name really loud. And then it appeared in my Instagram. I'm like, what it all? So everybody is listening. And I believe what Olivia said, because I'm like, why am I looking at so much? Because at one point, all the deaths that were happening with like the young Black men and things like that, it was just in my feed on a regular basis. I was like, what is this? So I think, we're being stalked by the algorithm as well. And it's just feeding into that. Like, my brain literally hurt the other day, and my eyes were hurting from being at work on the computer, being back at work on the computer. We've coming out of isolation basically, and we know. And I'm working with kids now. I'm working in the middle school, y'all, and we were already connected, but very disconnected. We're connected in the sense of everybody has access to everything now.
Yeah.
And there's no filtering. And when your mind has access to all of this information, especially as a young person, you are unable to differentiate reality from what's actually, real and what's fictional online. And
we
so,
can't differentiate, let alone the babies.
Huh?
We can't even differentiate, let alone the babies.
Exactly. So I think it's like we have that. It's a multi-tiered, situation to what you're talking about, Dr. T. I believe it's media. I believe it's mental health. I believe it's COVID and the isolation we've had since the last 2 years. We were already disconnected, and we're even more disconnected now. And coming out of COVID, we don't even know how to talk to one another. This negative talk has become normal. When I'm listening to my kid, I had to go outside my door the other day. Like, who are you talking to? They talk to each other and like, be this, be that. And let's be real clear. It's not just our young Black kids, like Olivia was saying. It's all of our kids. The way they talk to each other has become normal. And if you talk in a way that's adult, like we're talking to each other right now, they don't understand that. So, again, I say all that to say,
wow, that's really concerning, you guys, because in some ways it's almost as if the algorithm, and I will add to that the politicization of mask wearing, the vaccine issue that became so political in the last year, has really placed people on such polarized ends of the topic that then became a focus and a drive for people's anger. But it almost sounds like all these factors are now nurturing a personality that is a destructive personality. Like, I can't even imagine what will America look like in the next 10 years if we continue on this particular trend. What's interesting is that Dr. Professor Brad Bushman, who's at Ohio State, working at doing a research, exactly, shout out to Ohio, hey y'all.
The Ohio State University.
The Ohio State Driving Simulation Lab, where they're studying what leads to road rage. His point of view is that one of the findings that they found is that the presence of a gun in the car is one of the primers for road rage. So if you have a gun in the car, you're more likely to engage in anger on the road. He also found that there has been a decrease in empathy and an increase in narcissism. And that he thinks that may be a secondary factor also as to why we're seeing so much more anger. So I really do wonder, because we do have a lot more gun owners. I wonder if it means that if you have a gun, you're more likely to act out on certain levels because that gun may be, or some type of weapon may be empowering you in a way. If his findings are true that the presence of a gun does seem to be a primer. But it's like, where do we go from here? How do we turn the clocks back? Because these social media platforms have become a way of life. There are people who wake up in the morning, turn over, may or may not say hello to God or social media, right? And then, multiple times, people who I posted on our HBC account, a very interesting conversation between a dad and a daughter. And she was, I think, 10, I'm bad with kids' age. I think she was 10 years old in that age group. And she was sharing with him, her dad asked her, are you addicted to, I think it was TikTok? And she was like, yeah, I am. So
how do we get our kids off of that TikTok thing?
How do we, parent? How do we? You tell me.
Snatch the phone away from my daughter so much. I'm like, I have her phone as we speak now. She only sees it when she at school, but it's a way. And I'm as a parent with a teenager. I have 2 teenagers. I'm trying to learn when to pull back that phone or when to pull back any type of social media. So, yeah.
I think it's really interesting. Most of the people who are higher ups in social media and in these tech companies don't allow their children to use any electronics because they know the harm that it causes. Now, let's also keep it real. Those of us who are parents know that the electronics could be your best friend, honey, a babysitter. I just need 5 minutes. So I think, to expound on what Karen said, it's to be present and to be aware. Like, you're always asking yourself, is this right? What should I do? What are the rules that I want? Because I remember also, I'm not saying that none of these things are true. I think technology is a lot of things. But I know for our generation, my grandparents were like, ooh, that TV is going to ruin your brain. All of these things about television, right? And I was a kid who watched a lot of TV. I loved TV. I still love the TV. Exactly. So I also know that, again, fear is very triggering. We love to live in a world. We love to teach in a world with fear. I think common sense ideas. The whole point is that if we're saying that young people don't know how to communicate nor connect with people because they're always stuck on their devices, how about when you get home, you don't have a device? What you need a device for? You're 12 years old. There are no emergencies. Anybody who's going to need you is here, right? So when you get home, the phone goes off. Simple. If you're only on the computer when you're doing homework, everything else, be in the house with us. For example, we have a rule. We only have 1 TV in the house. We've always had that. That was my parents, and I like that rule. We have 1 TV in the house, and it's in the living room. So we didn't grow up with a lot of TVs in all the rooms, and all my friends did. And it's because my father and my mom always said, this is the room where we are supposed to commune together. So you're going to have to learn how to sacrifice watching things that you wouldn't like to watch. You're going to learn and you're going to expand. So I grew up loving Star Trek because my dad was a Trekkie, so we had to watch it at night, watching the sports things and the TV shows with my brother. They have to watch romantic comedies and sci-fi thrillers with me. And I actually really like that. And that was a way that my parents controlled technology when they were raising us, was that, yeah, we're going to have it, but you're going to have to share it with everybody else. And we're going to do it together so that we're together.
But then, Olivia, I agree with you, but then I also want to add this little tidbit is that the access to technology is different than what you grew up with, what Karen and I grew up, and then what Dr. and T and I grew up with. Although we're only a few years apart, the access to technology is vast for our kids. And so one thing that I've learned working with my kids is a lot of their friends are in their phone. A lot of our kids don't have friends in IRL, and that is in real life. And they don't understand the concept of what a friend is, who a friend is, and that is really, really sad and is very dangerous. I was doing an assessment the other day, and now I have to ask my students, is this a friend in real life that you have in the school, that you have at home, or is this a friend on the computer? And it's not quite 50-50 yet. It might be 40-60, 40% saying, oh, it's a friend on the computer. And these are friends that they have never met.
Wow.
That these are their best friends online. And so a lot of the cases that I am getting are parents saying, my kid has poor socialization skills. They do not know how to interact, and they are always on online Roblox or something like that. And mind you, they can talk through anything. So even if I'm not saying not to take the phone or not have structure, because I have a grandmother who was like, oh no, honey, my kids have to sign their phone out. And she's about 70 something years old, and she has 4 teenage kids. She said, when you come, you can have it at school, because that's the way, because like there's no pay phones anymore. And I grew up with, you supposed to be at school. So if I call to school, that's where you're going to be. I don't need you to have a cell phone. I mean, we didn't have phones when I was, whatever. But so if you're going to be at school, That's where you're supposed to be. I'll call to school and I'll find you. But now it's like their bus routes are online or on an app on their phone. So this grandmother was like, you have your phone at school because of the bus route, and if emergencies, I can contact you. When you come home, and now Karen, to your point, when you come home, that phone goes into a lock box. And from whichever time you get home, you got like an hour of phone time, screen time, period, whichever way that may be, homework, And then the phone goes in a box. And then when you get it, you sign it back out in the morning. So this grandmother had a very nice structured system. And in my 42 years, I will say I am that person who does the rollover and be like, oh, what's happening in the world today? And I was not always that way. So I think that for kids growing up now, having structure and having diligent parents who say, like yours, living like what you do, when we commune and have dinner, it's that time, no cell phones. And bed hygiene is also very important. A lot of our kids are not sleeping well, they're not getting restful sleep. They are awakening through the night, checking their phones to see who have called them throughout the night. And then when they do finally go to sleep, it's time to get up for school. And then they're really, really tired. So bed hygiene is important. Shutting down screen time at least 2 hours before your actual bedtime. So that blue screen is a stimulant. And also depending on what you're watching on these phones or even on your television, if it's stimulant based, you're going to be awake, and it's going to take your mind some time to shut down. So if you go to bed at 10, stop at 8. Start reading a book and start decreasing your, start to shut down, because it'll take you about 2 hours just to do that. That's just on a mental health perspective.
Mm-hmm. And add that for adults, because my patients have the same issues with shutting down the evening.
I have something to ask her on that. So that sounds great and all, but however, just like Olivia said, we only have one TV in our house, and that's in the living room where everybody watch. Nobody have TVs in their rooms, which is a good thing. However, my kids' grandparents, aunties, and godparents, they have brought them tablets. They all have tablets. They all have some type of Game Boy or whatnot. They all have what's that Chromebook that they got from school. Mm-hmm. And then my son has a laptop and then a phone. I kid you not. I took away his phone, all his electronics. You know what this boy did? Sleep. He went to sleep. I'm all like, what the heck? Why did you go to sleep? I said, wake up, wake up. He said, why? It's nothing else to do. He fell asleep. I said, you could come downstairs and join your family and watch. He was all like, it's boring.
Yeah. And I guess my question with that is, even if you restrict their time that they're on social media or using their electronics, how do you still also allow them to have healthy experiences while they're on their electronics? Because that helps to minimize and structure them. But while they're on it, if all I'm seeing are angry posts, vulgarity, obscene posts, which are the most popular to get the most views. That's how the algorithm is. How do we help them, and adults, because adults are struggling. The kids are angry too and are struggling with issues, but it's a whole lot of adults I'm seeing on these posts, on these news reports, who are the ones getting in fights. And the airplanes, we used to respect airline stewardess, and now they're getting beat up and hurt We used to respect our waiters and waitresses. Now they're getting beat. Like, these are the innocent people who are workers. They are not decision makers. So I really don't understand why.
So you know how like in the movies, or like in all the movies about the future and how we create robots and AI ends up taking over. And I always used to, my dad always just say that's never going to happen. And I was like, you know what's really funny is I think it's happened now, and it's not the way everybody thought. Everybody thought it was going to be robots. Instead, we're essentially just destroying ourselves with our own technology. Our technology is smarter than we are. We're not realizing that. And therefore, we have lost touch with what is actually real. I think this is real. That's the problem. It makes it all right here. And the human brain is not meant for that. We already know chronic stress over a long period of time kills you. Literally, people will drop dead from that. So messing with our minds. And to answer your question, Dr. T, I mean, I can't answer for all parents. What I do with my little ones, and they are on their tablets a lot, is I check it. I'm always like, what are you watching? Are you watching something ugly? No, mommy, you know, but there's also a part of me that thinks you can't control every aspect, right? It is a new frontier. It is out there, and we are not able to protect them all the time, just like our parents weren't able to protect us all the time from the streets or the bad decisions or the drugs or the TV or the porn we watch. Like, that's not reality. Reality is children and people growing up and making their way are going to find their path. I think it is our job, and it is incumbent upon us to try to create structure, like Karen and Chastity said, and also connection. We have to make sure we are present. We have to make sure we connect with our children, so that maybe they are having some friends who are doing some crazy things, or some friends online, but they know mama's here. They know mama's real. There's a foundation there. They know how to communicate and talk because you sit and you talk to your children, right? You make an effort. So for example, I'm terrible at homework. I was terrible as a student with homework, and terrible at trying to help my daughter do homework. I was like, whoo, Jesus, we gotta do homework, right? But now that I'm back in school, we do our homework together. We sit at the table together and we do homework together. It is now a part of our thing. So every day I'm trying to make sure that I have ways that I am present with them, teaching them how to be humans. Not so much trying to keep the world out, but trying to teach them how to live in the world that it is with their essence of humanity.
Yeah, and it's Go ahead. Dr. Go ahead. No, you go ahead, because I was going to swing.
Oh, and I was just going to say is I was talking to my niece the other day, and I also think it's a lot of our kids, stress for them is real. And we look at a 12-year-old stress, we can be very dismissive, like, what you got to be stressed about? You ain't got no job. However, stress for our young kids, like their reality, not having friends or not being accepted or just boy drama, relationship drama, this is really, really real to them. And I have to be careful, and I think parents should be careful and not be dismissive of what our kids are going through. My niece made something very clear to me. She said, half of the anxiety that we feel as kids is sometimes worrying about our parents. And it was like, damn, I'm looking at my kids, and it's just.
She should, because the parents are the ones fighting. I'm sorry, but yeah, she should.
So a lot of our kids are stressed, like to Olivia's point, and what I was talking about earlier, they don't have, first of all, they don't have the mental capacity to, or the brain capacity to accept everything that they see. Because it becomes exact, like I said, they can't tell the difference between reality and what's is non-fictional true or fictional fake. How does that go? What's real and what's not? You know what I mean? So they can't differentiate between that, and that causes a level of anxiety. It's like, okay, what is this? What is that? I'm not accepted. I don't do this. I can do that. And then you have parents who are not always present, not by choice, because you got a lot of parents who have to work. But then you also have kids nowadays who are so attached to the phones, like going outside is a punishment to kids nowadays. It's like, when I was younger, staying inside was punishment. So, and the other thing is a lot of these schools still don't have after school activities, after school sports. So kids are left to their own devices. And when you're 12, you may act grown, but you don't know how to navigate this world as a 12-year-old on your own. And that is stressful, and it can damn well be dangerous as well. So, to answer your question, Dr. Moore, I think it's a point of being present. I think it's a point of structure. And I also think it is a point of a little bit of access. Like Olivia was saying earlier, like we can't hide everything. I'd rather you be able to have access to it, but then know how to navigate it and learn what's real and what's not. And
yeah, I think that's a great advice. One of the concerns, however, is the fact of modeling, right? Chastity, you've spoken about modeling before to us in different topics. And I think part of the issue now is that we don't have good modeling from adults. So we have a generation of adults, which is essentially my generation. How did that happen? We have a generation of adults who don't really know what to do with anger. What I thought was interesting, I was watching the CBS Morning Show where they were interviewing New York University psychologist Ariane Ling, where she said that, yep, your alma mater, where she shared that she doesn't actually see this anger as being something that is a bad thing, but actually that she sees that the anger could be the fact that someone is really frustrated with something or really scared about something, but don't really know what to do with that emotion. So is anger a bad thing? Should we ever be angry? Or how do we have a generation that doesn't really know how to deal with emotions? Are we emotionally stunted? And how did that happen?
Or we need to extend our emotional vocabulary. So anger is manifested as a lot of things, but the face you might see, I understand what she's talking about. The face you might see is an anger face, but what the underlying thing is, it might be fear, it might be anxiety, it might be stress, it might be whatever it could be. When you are fearful and when you are scared, that symptomology or that behavior manifests itself, and you don't know if you don't know those words, you can't say I'm irritated, I'm frustrated, I'm agitated. Like those are words of anger, but that doesn't always mean you're angry. But sometimes kids have, emotions are a 64 crayon box, right? Do you remember the colors of the crayon boxes? Like the big ones is like 64 and you got it with a pencil sharpener. That was good, right? However, those are 64 colors of emotions. But our kids only know sometimes, and adults know, I would say, remember that 4 box or that 8 box, those fat crayons? It was red, blue, black, and green. So kids only know happy, sad, angry, mad. This is the 4 that they know. There's 60 more in this crayon box that kids are not even kids, but also adults. Oh, she crazy. No, or he crazy. No. But when that anger manifests itself, people have the fight or flight experience, people fight or flight experience or freeze. So when you look at someone, everybody's like, why is she so mad? But it's not always mad. I need us to have a better better understanding of emotional intelligence and have an expansive emotional vocabulary. Because when you tell a kid that they're angry, sometimes it is anger, you're not giving them a vast knowledge of different types of emotions. So when I'm in session, I use this grid. Name your emotion and explain it to me. Oh, I'm good. What does good mean? Good is not always good. So what my good for me is different than you. If you're angry, where does that reside in your body? I ask multiple layered questions because we only see the face of anger when a kid is scared, and we judge them based on that anger, not what's underlying, because that behavior that's manifested is anger, pushback, fighting. But my question is, as their therapist, who are you fighting? You're fighting the actual person, but who are you really fighting? Who are those punches for? Is my question. So yeah.
So we essentially have a bunch of adults that are like kids emotionally, is what it sounds like, who are now raising the next generation of kids emotionally. Yes. And so I want to ask y'all boomers, what did y'all do? Why are we so? Because it starts from the boomers. Okay.
Our culture has never focused on emotional health and emotional intelligence.
That part.
the American way, and really, frankly, the human way. If you're looking at classism, and the working class has been about, financial and material wealth. It's always been about power and wealth, power and wealth. Emotional intelligence, spiritual health has never really been something that's been talked about until recently.
Within the last maybe 10, 15 years?
You're seeing that people are emotional children, and that's been the case for a long time. And I mean,
so the boomers are messed up too. Okay, sorry, boomers. Y'all had no choice.
Right, and y'all, I'm hot.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I really do wonder where we're gonna go from here. I hope we continue to have these conversations, because it feels like we're at this, like we have been bubbling up and now it's exploding. And I agree with you guys. I think it may be multifactorial, where we had the pandemic, we have job loss. As a result of the pandemic, we have people who have grieving the loss of loved ones, a combination of the rise in social media and the dependency on social media and addiction of social media, and how I don't know if you guys saw the documentaries, how the whole goal is to really change our behavior. So we don't tell them how we behave, but they tell us how they want us to behave. And that's how the algorithm works. Yeah, I'm not gonna list the documentary. Hit me up privately. I will send y'all the documentaries to watch, but it's really fascinating in a very disturbing way. So finding these healthy spaces are so important. But yeah, we're going to talk about this some more, because I feel like this is not the end of it, that we're probably going to continue to see a lot of these behaviors until we really start to hone in, expand mental health services, because we all need it. Okay, we don't have enough of you guys, Chastity. We don't. It's just for the growth of the issues that are bubbling up. Now that we're more self-aware and we know we need help, now we ain't got enough help out there. Come on, y'all, governmental people in power, make it happen. Anyway, we are thankful to have you guys watch us today. We're going to do the question of the day. As we mentioned before, you guys get to send us a question that we get to answer that has maybe related to a topic, this topic, a prior topic, or just no topic at all. You just want to know. So we're going to ask the panel today, and we're going to wait for Karen to rejoin us. Come on, all right, there she go, girl. We're going to ask the panel today as we go around and let you guys know where you can follow us. The question of the day is, if you were not doing what you were doing, what would you be doing?
Oh,
let us know.
The answer.
The answer.
Easy. I would be a singer, dancer, artist.
Girl, I'll be a Janet Jackson background dancer or a Chris
where
kid.
Can they find you, midwife?
Oh, sorry.
On Instagram at This American Midwife. That's right.
Awesome. Hey, what did you say, Chastity?
Oh. If I was not a mental health professional or social worker, I would be either a Crest kid from back in the day, that toothpaste commercial, cheese, or a Janet Jackson background dancer. As long as she's touring, I still want to be a Janet Jackson background dancer. I can hit it up, y'all. Boom, 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 boom. I can do it.
All right. Come on, Karen.
And I am at
oh yes, I'm sorry. Where can we find you, Chris? Janet?
At Miss._CHAZ on IG.
You heard it right from here. Okay, come on, Karen. We saw you shaking that shoulder. What does that mean?
Hey, I wasn't dancing because I be dancing. So I'll be somebody backup dancer too, somewhere out there in the world.
She said somewhere out there in the world.
I wouldn't have no kids. I know that much. I wouldn't have no kids, no husband. I'll be a backup dancer, just living my life like it's golden. So you will find me at What a Touch.
I know that's right. All right, you guys. I love it. So it looks like we'll all be dancing somewhere. Why not get those endorphins going? It's way better than the stress hormones, right? Stress hormones don't feel well. So we are definitely dancers in this group. You guys know, what would I be doing if I was not doing what I do? Janet, y'all know this. That's my girl. Y'all know this. Okay.
Janet need to take us 36 and 40 plus on tour with her. I just need 5.
Listen.
Right, that's all my knees can do. That's all I got now.
You can put me about in just about any one of her tours. Okay, y'all remember that escapade? Anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
You gotta get the shoulders going.
I am Dr. T, the hand behind the handle of healthy club. Oh, sorry, y'all. Of healthy bump .club. Okay, I got a little excited.
Come on, Trista, the second.
We were talking about Janet. Y'all know I get excited, right? So you can find us on Instagram at healthybump.club on Instagram, or you can find us right here on YouTube. And we are happy to have you guys. Don't forget, hit us up in our comment section. What question do you want us to answer on the next episode? Hope to see you there. See you next time. See you next episode.